Ryan Kelly.
Yes, Ryan Kelly.
He became the highest paid center in the NFL today after the Indianapolis Colts signed him to a 4-year extension, $12.5 million a year. So that's $50 million for 4 years. So the Colts got him
Good
now
deal.
for the next 5 years. According to Spot Track and Over the Cap, we'll see here. The previous highest paid center was Rodney Hudson for the Raiders, and he got paid exactly $1 million a year less. So it's not wow, he got way paid over. He's better than Rodney Hudson. He's better than Mitch Morris, Nick Martin on the Texans. That's kind of, Marquise Pouncey. He's getting paid about 11. It's funny because I'm looking at Cody Whitehair for the Bears, who was drafted, if I remember correctly, I think the exact same year. And Whitehair is actually getting paid a little over $10 million. So, and I think Kelly's twice the center Whitehair is, in my opinion. But we talked about this before the stream started. Man, so many people talk about how the Indianapolis Colts have all this cap room and they don't spend this cap room, right? And what are they doing? Chris Ballard's a terrible GM because he's not going out and getting talent for his team because he's got all this money. But he knew I got guys I got to pay, right?
Yep.
I've got Ryan Kelly's I got to pay. I've got, next year, Darius Leonard and Quentin Nelson. Those are going to be chunky changes right there. I mean, I don't even want to know how much Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard is going to cost, right?
Yep.
Especially Quentin Nelson, who, is probably going to be the first guard ever to make more than $15 million a year.
I'd say that's a safe bet. Yep. I'd definitely say that's a safe bet. So I think the Colts are playing a really good game here with their cap. I think they're being very smart, credit to where that's what makes a good organization. Not only are they drafting really well, but they're also saving up their cap and they're making good moves here. Like the trade for DeForest Buckner, I thought was a good move. And they're doing a lot of good things, man. And I like this Ryan Kelly signing because, like I was talking about earlier, there's not, a lot of good starting offensive linemen. There's not even enough to fill out all 32 teams. So when you think about that, when you have even an above average offensive lineman, you have to pay him. You have to pay him. And the fact that Ryan Kelly is not only an above average starting offensive lineman, but also one of the best starting offensive linemen in the league, you have to pay him. And I mean, that's just how it goes. Making him the highest paid center, that was obvious. Obviously I think it's a good move. You have to pay the offensive line. And like you said, Lawrence, before you pay the running back, because in my opinion, you can put anybody behind a good offensive line and they will be able to produce. So,
yeah, I mean, when it comes to offense, there's two ways of going about it. The way the Bucs are going about it, which is you pay your skill positions and just hope that they are good enough, like that darn talented, that they can make up for the fact that the offensive line is not great at making holes for the running backs and not great at protecting the quarterback. Or you can invest a ton of money like the Dallas Cowboys did early on and put it in your offensive line. That way your quarterback, you can take an average quarterback behind a great offensive line, and because he's got all day to throw the football, he looks like a superstar.
Yep.
And you can take an average running back and they look like a superstar because they've got, semi-truck size holes that they can run through. So,
unless you're Trent Richardson, right? Then you can't see
an average running back, I said, not one that likes to wear blinders during, before and after games. And even then, the Colts didn't have an offensive line at that point. So Trent Richardson, he had blinders and he was behind a bad offensive line. So it was just a bad situation all the way around.
Yep.
So where do you think your team is sitting right now when it comes to building its team? Do you think that they're focusing more on the offensive line, or do you think they're more on this wanting to focus on the skill positions?
Yeah. So I think that right now, the thing with the Ravens is that since we draft so well, we tend to find like these late round guards that just turn out to be beasts. So like we found Bradley Bozeman, who's our starting left guard. We got him in the 6th round. So, and our starting center, Matt Skura, we got him undrafted. So we tend to find these gems. It's just something we do when it comes to offensive line. So that means we can be pretty cheap with the offensive line because we just, you know what? Like we had Ryan Jensen a few years ago who ended up going to the Bucs at the time, who got to be the highest paid center. I wanted to keep him on the Ravens because I thought he was really good. But, you know, we just don't pay offensive linemen like that unless it's left tackles, of course, which is why I think we're going to pay Ronnie Stanley and maybe Orlando Brown Jr. I don't know if we're going to pay him just yet. But, yeah, I don't think we invest a lot into the offensive line, but it's only because we draft so well and we just find these undrafted gems. And also we have Lamar Jackson, who is, you know, the most mobile quarterback in the league. So that's probably why they're not really too, you know, because we did lose Marshall Yanda and we just ended up signing DJ Fluker, who I think is going to be all right. So, yeah, that's just kind of our formula, man. We're not like the Colts, you know, that just draft Quentin Nelson in the 1st round, Ryan Kelly in the 1st round. And, I mean, they're beasts, and that's a good way to do things. But, yeah, that's just never the way we've done things. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, if you're really good at drafting specific people, then you lean on that, right? Mm-hmm. Like right now, I'm seeing Chris Ballard, I think, is an absolute stud at drafting linebackers, right? Yeah. Specifically linebackers, not just Darius Leonard, but the other linebackers that a lot of people don't understand are very, very, very good. Mm-hmm. And they're just overshadowed because Darius Leonard. Yeah. But so you can legitimately kind of, if you need to, as you say, rotate that in and out when their contract comes up, move them on, go get a new one. You know, Same with people who are good at drafting running backs. Yep. Colts, I think, are in that situation. I think he's good at drafting running backs. Yeah. I mean, their stable is nothing but guys that he has drafted over the previous 3 years, and all 4 of those guys that are on that stable are studs. So.
Yeah, I feel like every team has that one position that they're just like great at drafting, like no matter what, right? The Steelers, for example, always find good receivers. No matter what round it is, they always end up finding good receivers, for one. But us, on the other hand, we can't draft a receiver to save our lives. It's just always been like that. Well, not counting Hollywood Brown, of course, but that's a different GM. So, but yeah, man, I think it's interesting how different people do things. But yeah, the Ravens, we definitely invest more in the defense. That's just always how we've been. We've always paid our defensive guys before paying the offensive pieces.
Well, like you said, you know, the weak point, Chris Ballard was having a very big issue drafting the 3-tech, right? And in a 4-3, that is a very important position. That defensive tackle opens up everything for your defensive end, your linebackers, you know, stops the run. So since he had issues doing that, he just said, to heck with it. You know, I'm going to give a 1st-round pick and drop a bunch of money on DeForest Buckner, and it's done. It's fixed.
There you go.
And thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, guys. And hopefully we'll see you next time.
Yep. We'll see you tomorrow. And I'm Lawrence Owen, Joe Noobo. Have a good one.
Later.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.